So, I'm not going to give you this story. Please understand, this is not cheap. These are the risks that some people, albeit a bit extreme, but these are risks that some people have faced in business. Why is that? They did not have a strong internal control system. What does that come down to? If you're not clear with your staff on your anti-corruption position, if you're not clear through communication to your staff that I cannot stand for this, I will not tolerate this. The fact that they don't know and the conscience doesn't break when the question comes up, can I do this? You have already failed. Because what it does is that it falls to them to interpret what they think you will do. It falls to your staff to interpret what they think you will do. And this also applies for those of you that have your children involved in your business, that have your husband involved in your business. It does not mean it's not just outsiders. It applies to everybody within your ecosystem. If you don't make it clear, I'll give you an example. In my organization, I know, Emmanuel, I know that if my CEO learns, just by extension, not that there's evidence to prove it, learns that I gave a contract to somebody and bypassed the process to give that contract, he may not sack me, but I know that my reputation is over. Because in as many meetings that we have at management level, it runs the same thing in. I stand on the path of non-corruption. If something is that hard, tell me. But if you do this, I will hang you out to dry. He doesn't hide it. And he's a man of means and influence and position. He can make calls, we would never get a job without him. Because when people ask him, the minute you say you work for this Soji Pampa, the first question they ask is, Soji, they pick up the phone and they call him. This person is coming from you, what would you say? Do you think he will give me a reference? If for nothing else, that is my incentive not to get involved because he has made it clear his position in the organization in respect of corruption. So, you must do the same. But let me give people a comment. In case you enjoy corruption and you thrive in it and you are contributing for being corrupted, no problem, please continue. But know that in the long run, I cannot interpret what that means, there is a price you must pay. Okay, and thank you because they got me to the point. So, how do you now demonstrate this anti-corruption declaration? And I will deal with two things, so when I get to that point, I will skip it. Two things you must do regularly. In respect of all the policies you see here, we'll read the policies as we go down. Number one, I encourage you all to put up a plaque, a very visible, large plaque, in your office at the entrance that says, we are committed and pledged to anti-corruption in this organization. If people come to and every day, they know, even if they are finding ways to do it, they catch me up. Now just to do this, they will have to come out. Because I am finished. It costs you nothing, but it sends a powerful message. Just put the anti-corruption flag. You can find the statement online. You can do an anti-corruption statement, you can find one online. We are an anti-corruption organization. We do not believe in paying bribes. We do not believe in fraud or inducement. Make it clear. Number two, every staff you engage, every contractor that is delivering services to you, every consultant you engage to do work on your behalf or work with you, should sign an anti-corruption declaration statement as part of their engagement contract. Yesterday, somebody came to me and said, oh, we love the way you talk. Can you do a conference for us? Can you speak at a conference for us? I said, madam, no, because my contract obligates me from speaking at other people's conferences, unless the CEO approves it as an exceptional request. So follow the process. Because my contract makes it very clear, I am not allowed to compete in the same business I'm already working in. Right? So what that means is staff contract, consultant contract, third-party contract. Please make sure that you have those in your documentation. Then the third is training. Make sure you train your staff as often as possible on anti-corruption. And how do you do training? You don't have to do this sort of thing where you bring people together, you pay for lunch, you pay for dinner, you pay for all of this for them to know. During your staff meeting, remind them, we work for an organization, this is our reputation, please do not get involved in corrupt practices. Because when we find out, this is the consequence. It's very simple. It's very, very simple. Then document that you had that conversation. That is how you meet the requirement of this. Document that you had that conversation in the minutes of the meeting. Show evidence of your staff contract that this is in your staff contract and evidence that a staff signed that contract. That's what you need. Very simple things, doesn't cost any money, but if you have this sort of things in place, you are meeting the requirements of what it means to run a clean business. You had a quick question about
so far, like I buy so far. Now, why do you prepare for class or someone else to buy this or you understand? Okay, for example, I have an audience delivery and so buy this tomorrow. I know I'm not prepare a contract to give people or I allow them to sign this contract.
Good. That's a fantastic question. Okay, that was a fantastic question. Let me tell you what the question is. He simply says, if I have your one-man business again, is it just you or you have staff? Just two staff and then yourself, so three of you. So his question is simple. What if in a situation whereby I have an urgent delivery and I do buying and selling, which some of you will do, and I have somebody I go to buy from in Alaba market, will I be telling the person to sign a contract? The answer is yes. But let me tell you how to get around that. You don't get the person to sign the contract on the day you're going to do the buying. Unless it is an extraordinary source, i.e., somebody shows up and says, today you sell shoes and belts, but I want you to supply shirts, and you have never had a supplier, then you do that. The advice to you is this: always have vendors, registered vendors in your business. How does this serve you? When the chips are down and you have no cash to meet that inventory, they will release the goods to you because you have the existing relationship. Part of establishing that relationship is you must make sure that they sign that contractual obligation. Now let me tell you the flip side to your business. Failing to have that relationship in place with the vendor and having that anti-corruption statement is this. Your staff will know, because of the quantum of transaction, will go there and try to compromise the person, if you have a terrible staff, to compromise the person that if you want to keep this business, and it will not be your junior staff, it's the manager you put in charge. If you want to maintain our business, I want something. I don't know what that is. Now, to you, you may end up losing a very strong relationship because they will now think, this is how he runs the business now. And me, my bottom line, my what do you call it, my markup is so small, and he's asking me for this much money. How am I supposed to do this with him? It costs you that vendor. Tomorrow, when you have an order, you must pay in full to somebody new to be able to get that. If you don't have that cash, you miss your timeline, it affects your reputation. Do we get it? In everything, always plan ahead. If you've been doing the business for the last 2 years, you know the people that are selling. You procure for those people. Establish a strong relationship. At some point, even if you have the cash, test them by buying on credit. Test them by buying on credit. And then literally 2 days later pay so that the reputation is still high. Then they know you're a secure creditor. That is actually how you do business. That's why I always tell people, if you run a business and you're telling me you need money to run the business, you don't know your business very well. Because the best entrepreneurs start a business on somebody else's credit line. The best entrepreneurs start a business based on somebody else's credit line. What does that mean? A woman in Jos, I knew her son. By the time I met the son, they were already billionaires. What she did, she was selling mama put. She was a restaurateur selling mama put. And from mama put, she decided she wanted to go. She started a little shack. From a little shack, she opened a bigger store. She now decided that food was not really selling. She wanted to get into Coca-Cola selling. Because she had been buying Coke from the distributor for her mama put business that she was growing in, The first thing, she went to the guy and said, can you give me 100 crates? I will sell and pay you back in 7 days. And the person released 100 crates. She was about to do a wedding at the time, either a wedding or funeral. She sold her 100 crates in just. She came back, paid the guy, kept her profit. Told the guy, I'm going to go and source for business. Keep 500 crates for me. She went and she delivered and she sold her 500 crates. She came back to pay the guy. Today, she took over the guy's distributorship. She runs the distributorship of that guy. She's taking over the business. Because she grew that big. Because what she had was an ability to build relationships with people. So every event that I know I attended that was high-level events in jobs, she was the one that was getting all the jobs. Because she could open doors. But what she did not have was seed capital. And she built that business. Her son started running the business. He lived in Abuja before. He now moved back to just to run it. And now they're literally billionaires. Naira, please. Very wealthy family. And it was the woman without the husband and fellowship. And she did all of that. She had God. So, build a relationship with your vendors. And when the chips are down, use your vendors to build your own business. Okay. So, next one. Please, if you don't have a procurement guideline, get one. Procurement guidelines help you avoid the risk of people playing, azonto with your money. Going to do bribes, bringing them people to do procurement from your business, especially if you procure heavy. Like this gentleman here that procures heavy. Be very, very careful. Have a procurement policy in place, internal and external. If somebody is coming to procure, what is the process? Is it 3 quotes? Or is it whoever shows up the first, you just collect their pay and you sell? Who brought the person to the business? What is the process of payment? Who exactly is originating the procurement? Who is approving the procurement? If you're a one-man business, I can appreciate you're the only one doing it, but you have your own best interest at heart anyway. You will not sabotage yourself. But the minute you start having other people do things for you, you must have a system in place to navigate those challenges because they will come. Human beings are creatures of habit. Human beings will fall under pressure eventually. And even the best staff will just fall and do something crazy and cost you so much. So you must plan for those sorts of risks. Don't believe that person is such a good guy, he will never be. Go to church every Sunday. Those are the ones to be very careful of. Because they are the ones you never see the risks they present. Okay. Conflict of interest policy. Go and look at what that means. You have to have one. HR policy within your code of conduct, please make sure you have one. For those of you that recruit without having the process, because I've heard this as well from people from time to time, they recruit and they sense the problem they face is they're recruiting the wrong people, they're recruiting family members, they're recruiting their clansmen. Okay, let me give you a live. I got the call last Friday from a very close friend of mine. And she says, her message read, "Hi Emmanuel, mommy's farm has finally collapsed. I need you to help me sell the farm." And I called her and I said, "What the hell happened? This business has been here for many years. What happened?" She says, "I warned her, but you know how mommy behaves. She brought in big brother, she brought in little sister, she brought in everyone that couldn't get a job in the village, and she gave them work. I kid you not, that's exactly what she did. It took 7 people. It took 7 people that she brought into her business. He had the name, he had the number. 7 people to crumble a company that had existed for 30 years. That's why when I see me passionate about this, I have seen the examples of the failures. And the woman, granted, she's still very rich, she's a very, very wealthy woman. She owned a cattle farm, a goat shed, she owned an abattoir, she owned a lot of things. And she had built this business up for many, many years. Her husband also died, many, many years, 1 child. And she just raised her family on her own. And she built this business, she and her God. And she brought in her senior brother to run it for her. And the first thing he did was start fighting all the legacy stuff that have been there. Who are you? This one will resign and leave. And she'll be like, hey, you guys are so heavy-handed. My brother has to make decisions. He must all comply. But she built animosity into her business because she handed it over to the wrong person.
Business cannot grow like that.
And by the time that the guy started bringing in the other siblings to the business, they killed off the company. So now they're stripping the assets and selling the land to build estates. Because quite frankly, the woman cannot start to look at the business outside. She's 67, so you can imagine she can't go back and start running the business again. It's all gone. So it pays you to have your policy in place so that you don't become the story I tell at my next conference. I'm telling you, but I will tell you a story. If you're not careful, I will name your name too. Anyway, let me have the joke around it. Then please, you see this disciplinary policy, even if it's only you running the business, have one. But don't have one based on where you are. Have one for when a problem comes. I was told the story. I was in Kenya at the corporate governance training. And I was told the story by somebody from the US. And he related to a big US organization. And this lady said she was the director of that company, and even after the crisis, she was still the director of that company. And I learned a very important lesson from that, which I'll pass on to you. And that lesson is, what you don't tell people, they are not responsible for. Ladies, if you hear me, what you do not tell people, they cannot be responsible for. It's different in your personal life when you say, my husband should know me, I'm married for 20 years, you should be thinking what I'm thinking. That is okay, that's your marriage. But in the world of work, when you show up to work as a professional, endeavor to tell people everything you are thinking in your head. Let them know it, hear it, assimilate it. No assumptions, no presumptions, no, why can't you think more like me? Excuse me, I am not God, none of my mind reader. Tell me I know, if you don't tell me, that's your problem.
Tell me.
Why am I saying this? So this lady, now that's not from that story, but let me tell you the main story. She says in her organization, there was an issue that came up in relation to a staff who had just been onboarded. Now this issue related to sexual harassment in the workplace. It became a scandalous because it's America, and it was a big government agency, and you know they're very litigious. They like to go to court over every small thing. So on the basis of that, the woman literally, the first time she heard about the issue was when all the corporate directors, the senior leadership from DC showed up in her office and said, we heard there's a crisis. She said, which crisis? The sexual harassment, and I find it on social media. And she said, I'm sorry, I've never heard of this case. They showed her the evidence. So she had to get past that very quickly and think what's the solution. Do you know the first question they asked her when she showed up? Do all the staff in the organization, and can you evidence that all the staff in the organization know the process for grievance reporting and disciplinary? That was actually the example she gave us. And she didn't just say yes. She just opened her locker and brought her all the evidence and showed them and said, there it is. Guess what happened? Why this mattered? When they went to court, which is what you find in employment law, when they went to court, when the employee, the person that was sexually harassed, went to court, the prayer to the court was, the environment was so hostile, I couldn't deal with the grievance within the system, I had to resign and sue. So, grant me compensation for emotional harm, in addition to lost wages, lost income. That's how this case is done. They don't just sue you to recover salary unearned, they sue you to also emotional damage, anxiety problems. But wait, if you are already looking at that, wait and see now. When you have a dangerous employee, they will show you shaking. Oh yes. And the way they will show you, we have seen it happen in Abuja, one company that does polystyrene products. They get labor, Ministry of Labor to picket your company, and labor will blacklist you. Then you know you have a real problem. So, let me tell you what happened. When they went to court and they presented the evidence that she had done the training, she had shown the pathways to whistleblowing and the disciplinary procedure, the court said to the lady, I'm so sorry that you went through this. I'm so sorry you brought your case, but I'm going to strike out your case. Because there was a clear process within the organization you should have followed first. And she had to go back and then start the process from within the system. But because she had decided to quit, they just had a handshake, had an agreement, and they settled the issue out. But you understand what I'm saying? This may be in relation to grievance reporting, but this applies across the board for your organization. Do your staff know your position on sexual harassment in the workplace? Especially, let me be very controversial for the sake of this. Women that have husbands who also work in the business. Does your husband know your position on sexual harassment in the workplace? Does your son, if he interacts with your business? Do your male employees that are senior, whether family or not family, do they know your position? But let me tell you my experience in this country. For those who are abroad, actually, you can think of it. Whenever there's a sexual harassment thing and the woman is at the head, for reasons, I don't know what the reason is, maybe they want to protect the institution, their first instinct sometimes tends to be accuse the woman, get her out of the system. Especially when it connects to a family member. But you forget that you owe that person a duty of care that they came to work. They should not be in a hostile work environment. You forget that you, as a woman, if that happened to you, it would be unacceptable. So is your system such? And I'm saying this because we live in a deeply religious country full of hypocrites, where we all pretend that we're all more righteous than Jesus Christ. Yes, we engage in the most vicious things against each other.
TikTok live.
And they decided, let's show this guy up before he goes too far. But I'll finish my statement. I'm not going to stop. There's no policy against killing it. But we understand the point I'm trying to make, right? You must make sure you build the systems that avoid such risks. And in a country like this, where we all like to believe that we're better than the challenges that we face, you must make sure that these policies are done from a perspective of what does my business need? If I had a challenge tomorrow, how do I address that challenge using these policies? How does this policy show that I have done everything I am expected to do? That is the point. That is the risk to manage. I have done everything I am expected to do. I cannot do more of that. That's why you have these policies. So please, and we also have templates at the end that will show that. Templates that you can look at and try and copy. They were done keeping in mind Nigerian law so that you are compliant with the law and also you protect the well-being of your staff. Because you communicate to your staff when you adopt policies like this and you train them on it, they know that you have their best interest at heart, then they have a responsibility to reciprocate the same thing to your company, to protect that company. Then when they fail to do that, then you can take any action you want to take. Okay, so on this one, I'll say those all of them. Do you have, and please make sure you have a standard template for contracting external parties and staff. Make sure you have one. They will ask you for evidence to see what it looks like. It can be one page. It doesn't have to be anything for living us. It can be one page, but that one page should cover all the important things, which are salary, terms and conditions of work, which is how much you're getting paid, what sort of hours are you supposed to work, what is your location of work, what is your leave allowance, what is your responsibilities to the company, what are the responsibilities of the company to you, and you can just say reference to the policy, reference to this guideline. You don't have to put it there, just reference them to read it. Then part of the induction must be that they will read those policies and someone will walk them through those policies. That's the cheapest way to do this. That's the most effective way to do this. But you must have a standard template. Okay. Look at this recruitment checklist. Because how you recruit, who you recruit, matters to your business, matters to the success, sustainability, long-term viability of your company. So it's important to have a very clear checklist. People should never, can I tell you something? Who here has noticed that people that get jobs by knowing people and just walking into a company tend to be more problematic to manage than people that actually go through the recruitment process? Thank you. Aha. It's entitlement, it's feeling like if you do anything, I just report you. Yes. Whether it's in government, whether it's in private sector, that has been my experience in recruitment. To date, I think I've recruited at least 750 people. Probably more than that. Because in my work in the Northeast, I recruited at least 500. So, I know when the directors send me a signature, just absorb this person, I always get a problem with that person. But whenever people go through a process of being recruited, it always goes better. So, have a documentation for your recruitment, application form, have a clear timeline for when you're supposed to interview,